Hello, folks. Welcome to another episode of Xobin Talks. My name is Guruprakash, and I'm the CEO of Xobin, and I'm going to be the host today. Today, we have with us Nikunj Verma, co-founder and CEO of CutShort. Now, time and again, we get very interesting speakers in Xobin Talks. There are two reasons why I like to interact with Nikunj. One, he runs a profitable HR tech company. It's very difficult. It's very easy to get funding in HR tech, but it's difficult to run a profitable HR tech company. Two, CutShort as a product, I've been closely following it. It's not like a typical job board or something. It is very innovative, and the team takes a lot of risk, and it's almost like they enjoy taking risk, right? Especially when you have to be profitable, taking risk. They are very, very difficult, but the risks and the innovative product, they keep evolving their product from time and again, and that's really amazing, right? And I've been really excited to talk about Nikunj. Nikunj, welcome to Xobin Talks. Thanks for accepting firstly to be with us today.
Thank you for having me here, Guru, and I'm excited to be talking.
Perfect. So Nikunj, we have a very interesting topic to discuss about today. Before we get started, for our audience, can you explain what is CutShort, right? And how does it create an impact?
Sure. So as you said, I think CutShort is a platform we created for tech hiring. And it's a platform we started working on around 7-8 years ago. It has taken its own life and own evolution from basic matchmaking that nobody was doing at that time to building tools so that companies can not just find resumes, but they could find the right matching people very easily. They could save their time and they could find more relevant folks who they can hire very easily. So from the talent pool as well as the workflow, we were the first company to actually build both of them integrated in one single product, while other companies were only doing job portals or they were only doing ATS. So we combined both of them together. So that was something which we have been doing last 7-8 years since started. We have had 25,000 plus recruiters who use the platform. We have had 3 million people who have signed on the platform, out of which 1.5 million people are in tech. So, a lot of Indian tech talent, which is working in good product engineering kind of companies, they're already there on CutShort. And all this has happened, as you said, in a bootstrap way. So we have not raised money. It has all happened because of the word of mouth and people discovering CutShort from their friends or from the jobs or from the companies and all of that. So yeah, that is something which we have been building. Now, this, as you said, you talk about risk, right? You talk about innovation. So I think for last 7-8 months, we are working on something dramatically different than what we were doing before. Basically going to the next level in terms of using AI and humans, combining those together, because AI itself is not sufficient. Humans themselves are not sufficient, and we're combining the best blend of both with our product so that companies can find even better relevance without having to really work on all the hard part of talent acquisition. And then they can pay for it when they find success. They don't have to pay upfront a lot of money. So we're trying to reduce all the gaps that have traditionally existed in a talent acquisition for tech hiring. All the gaps we have tried to reduce. And now this single platform, we are trying to build a dramatically different way or simpler way to hire talent, which you want. Yeah, so that
I think this is called as Lightning, right? The new one is called Lightning.
Yeah, this is Lightning. So this is basically one offering that we have, which is a recruitment agency alternative, where as a company you just come with your requirement, your talent acquisition demand. We understand, and from there a human gets assigned, and then from the human assignment, then whole technology part starts flowing in, where outreaches happen all in real time over multiple channels. Then automatic screening happens, automatic application review happens, and then finally human review again happens to find you the best talent. And all this happens in 2 or 3 days, and which is dramatically different because unlike unlike any other thing that companies normally use today, it takes 7-10 days normally for them to just find 3 or 4 relevant candidates who they can start interview. So this all happens fast. It all happens with high quality, because with AI we are able to do a much better job of going through the resumes and finding hidden clues that are there in the resumes and the profiles. Through AI screening, we are able to further scale recruiter effort of talking to the candidate and really verifying their claim about working on a specific technology or the product. And then it is significantly cost effective because we are doing this at scale. So it's something like Amazon, something like AWS. We're doing something at scale, and hence we are much more cost effective as well. So we're able to bring three things that normally you can't choose all three. So quality, speed, and time, right? All three we are able to bring uh, in this product, and that's why we're calling it Lightning.
Fantastic, right? We can talk about Lightning a little bit later in the conversation. But Nikunj, you say that you built a community of talent of 1.5 million and 25,000 plus recruiters, right? And clearly, you know how to use tech to achieve it. Because being bootstrap, I don't know how much of cost, how much you have spent to acquire talent, right? I don't know how much whether you had the budget or not. Because obviously, you're competing with giants who typically spend the money only on getting candidates, through huge billboards and through huge ads, right? So I think one thing that you have done well as a company is building great community and you I think recruitment as such is broadly sometimes I feel it is slightly an unthankful business. I think though we give a great candidate to someone, people are not going to get appreciated, they're not going to appreciate us. I think everyone can probably watching this will relate to it. uh, but you build a huge community. Could you just tell how? I mean, 1.5 million is not a small number, right? Without spending money. I know referral is really good, but how?
So it's not 1.5, it's 3 million actually. It's 3 million of total talent pool. 1.5 million is just in tech. Other 1.5 million is marketing, sales, HR, product, design, all of that. So how did we do that? I think piece by piece. There is no shortcut to it. It took longer time for us to do it because not a lot of companies, they, as you said, they are funded and they want to do it in a year, and hence you have to go for all inorganic ways or paid ads and all of those methods. And typically you don't have the product as well to support their needs, and they churn because you just acquire them, but then you can't retain them because you don't have much value for them. I think in our case it happened uh, organically first. We of course use growth hacks early in the process. We used to send LinkedIn requests, LinkedIn connection requests to everyone. Like every one of us used to run LinkedIn requests and LinkedIn campaign every single day for 2 years, and five of us, right? So 100, 200 connection requests going out every day for two, three
To the
years
talent?
from five, six accounts. Yeah, we used to do that and
Wow.
to try out, and we used to try them. We used to ask them to try the platform, and they used to come. And then we did a lot of hiring events. In the hiring events, also we got a lot of companies in one shot, and those companies
Okay.
also generated demand from the talent side as well. So we use these tactics to go, and then once the product kind of took to the next level in terms of the critical mass, then I think network effects kicked in, and more companies require, or more companies attracted more talent, and more talent attracted more companies. So from there, at point of one, it became kind of self-sufficient, and we didn't have to do a lot of growth hacking after that.
I think this is brilliant. I think this is something, a playbook that you can probably write for other companies also, how to build their internal talent pool as such, right? So I think we have a clear expert here in talent acquisition. So I think to reintroduce Nikunj has acquired 3 million candidates and he's built a community of 25,000 recruiters, right? And the fact that he's bootstrapped and sustaining for 8 years without funding is a clear proof that whatever he's built is working. So, quick brief, so Xobin is a assessment platform. So we are in the screening business for enterprises as such, right? But coming to the talent acquisition side, let's take the last 10 years. Maybe let's take from 2011 onwards, right? Why did talent acquisition experts first came into the business? Why were they required, right? And what is their function like, right? Could you just quickly clear it? And what is TA and what is the role of usually the talent acquisition expert?
Sure, I think it's not last 10 years. I think it has a role. This role has been there for quite some time. Recruiters have been required in all the industries before. I think we were doing offline recruitment earlier. We used to have newspaper ads and a lot of pamphlets being sent. In fact, I remember when you said it now, in Doordarshan back in days, you would have seen a job bulletin where they would used to say that this role 4,000 rupees is the
Yeah.
salary band, and the government jobs and all of that, right? So I think recruitment, marketing, and recruitment advertising has been something which companies have been doing for quite some time. Sophistication and technology penetration in the industry or this function has increased, of course, in the last 10, 15 years. And what do they do is basically you have a business which is growing and you need more people to fuel the growth, to do the do the work that you require, and you need to find those people. So how do you find those people? There was a time when it was an employer market. You could have just said out there in the public that we are hiring, and you would just, as I said, distribute your jobs, or you would put a paper ad and people will come because of the employer market. Now the job has become much more difficult because it's a candidate market now. There's talent out there, there's surplus out there, but then the people that you want to hire are very few. And now has the problem has become more challenging in the sense, a lot of competition for talent, lot of lot of career preferences have changed for the talent as well. And now you have to project yourself, you have to catch their attention, you have to sell your role, and you have to run the process. And it's a very competitive, very challenging process that you have to run. And over a period of time, because the skill expansion and explosion of the skill set and the dynamic nature of the skill set changing, now you have to also keep track of what's happening. And it is no longer a very staid kind of market where skills never change, right? So now everything is changing, it's become so dynamic that now you need a team which can always be on the lookout to figure out not just what we need to do in next 3 months, but also figure out what does the business need in next 1 year, 2 year, plan for it, and align that business direction with the talent acquisition strategy, and try to solve those problems so that you are able to meet the goals that are set by the business. So it's a very, very, very important and strategically very important role. And in fact, if you look at it, companies which are very, very talent dependent, like all the IT services and consulting and McKinsey and all this comes because talent is the product, right? These companies have upshifted themselves and they become very, very sophisticated in the talent acquisition. Product companies, startups, SMBs are a bit more lagging because they don't do this as their main job. Their job is to build something else, and this is more like a support function. So you see that dramatic difference between how these companies invest in technology and how do they plan for talent versus how product company SMBs plan for talent, which is not in the talent or services as the main core line of business. But yeah, I think that is how the function has evolved over a period of time and how challenging it has become now. And to the extent that, it's the make or break today, because if you remember, or if you read the story of OpenAI, OpenAI did all this, and it's amazing that what they've been able to do in the last 4 years, right? If you look at how they build their team, it's very, very competitive. It's very, it was central to their entire idea of doing this, and they could not have pulled it together without this talent.
Yeah.
To the extent that they paid $10 million to find people, right, for the roles that they wanted to hire, right? So it's a very key thing for now for any company to go to the next level, find the right talent, and these are the people. This is a team which actually makes it happen. So very important.
I think this more looks like the role of a founder CEO, so because their responsibility is to ensure that a good team is in place. So it speaks about why this is a very important role as such. You spoke about candidates market versus the employer market as such, So let's say right now, for majority of the roles, given that there are not a lot of job openings as such, is it still a candidates market? You still feel that this is a candidates market because we get 2,000 applications in LinkedIn for any role. We get a lot of job applications, right? So do you still think this is a candidates market?
So are you able to hire from those 2,000 people? Like most companies are not able to do that because they are numbers, but the quality and the relevance to what you're doing, that's when you apply all those filters, relevance, location, quality, culture fit. If you apply all those filters, then you are left with only a few, and they are the ones who have a lot of options, right? So the kind of talent most companies want is where the competition is. Most of the numbers are there, but that is not what most companies want. So that explains the contradiction here. And more importantly, I think this question about the market changing the course in last 1.5 years or so because of funding and on the macro situation. I think we have asked this question multiple times to our companies who are hiring on the platform, and the question has been that are you finding it easy to find talent as compared to 2 years ago? And 50% companies have said no. it has
Yeah.
not been easy for them because of the fact, because of the same situation that, it's very still, and the companies have responded with paying lower salaries now, and they are have demanding more skill set. But then even then, if it had not done that, even then it was always going to take longer and longer for them to hire. So I think fundamentally the macro situation has changed. Even today, if not companies are not able to hire, then again, if the market comes back to its normal behavior, I think it will be even more difficult for companies to hire, and that's the reality that we have to live with for next 5 years or so, because inherently we are living in a world where skills are changing and people who have the skills are very few, and the companies are more. There are more demand and there's always less supply for talent that you want. So that is the reality going to be in next 5 years or so, unless we are able to bring more supply into the equation in the system. And that is a massive reform in the whole education sector and all of that, right? That's not happening.
The TAs will have to always hunt for many more passive talent, from time and again, right? So no doubt LinkedIn is their number one favorite too, because I don't see a TA not use the word LinkedIn at least once a day. So there's no conversation they can have without using LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is their best friend, and so they reach out to passive talent and then they show them about opportunity and then they bring them on board, right? I think that is very critical function which they do. Would you agree on that? So in a way, they make the hiring funnel bigger, right? So they make sure that a good amount of candidates come into the system. So at end of the day, a good candidate gets filtered and they come out, right? So I think that is a healthy function that they do.
Yeah, so that is a recruitment marketing function part as well. So there is a recruitment marketing and branding also, where you try to create and showcase a culture, showcase a organic activity happening in the company, attract people from your network and referrals. And that is in a lot of companies a separate function altogether,
Okay.
recruitment marketing and branding. And what you're talking about is outbound recruiting, where if you are given a role, let's say you are a recruiter and you're given a role, you want to target people who are likely to be better fit for your role. And then how do you find them? So you apply the filters and all that on LinkedIn. You try to reach out to them, send them connection requests, and try to build more awareness and try to get some referrals also from them. That's something that every
Mhm.
TA does. The challenge happens is, you know, TAs shift their domain and their skill set and roles. There's so many roles in tech, for example. You have to it takes time for you to build your depth in any domain. So let's say you're hiring for
Yeah,
data. Now you
yeah,
need
yeah,
to do that. You need to have the time for you to really establish and dig your heels deeper into that market. But before you get that to do that, you're shifted to a front end role. In the meantime, and you have to close that role in 7-10 days. And that's why we see passive hiring and outbound hiring, while it is more looks to be very attractive, but then in terms of results, it always creates more problems because companies have to close roles in 2 weeks. And you're
yeah,
running on 2 weeks or 3 week cycle, you can't really do passive and outbound hiring because
yeah,
by the time you reach out to outbound hire, a potential hire, then you do a call, and then you have reached out. They're not really looking out. Their speed of the entire conversation is much slower than what you would
yeah,
find in active funnel, and that's why you will find in India, Naukri is the de facto platform because you can always go and hire people and apply the filter of 30-day notice period or 15-day notice period, and you can hire people faster there. So I think LinkedIn is more for white collar, more difficult roles to close, and you want to, and very skill specific, and you want to build network. But Naukri is where most of the volume is, and because you want to
okay.
hire people who are relevant and who can join fast, and that's where. And I think LinkedIn, that's the only outbound hiring part of LinkedIn. But I think, as you said, building a network, creating a presence, keeping your company in a recall, creating some kind of brand perception is something which is a recruitment marketing part of LinkedIn, which every company has to do today. That is not an option at all. Because if you're not there on LinkedIn, if your company page is not, is not proper, you don't talk about things that matter to the candidates, then basically your chances of converting and attracting talent are compromised.
One active function that TA does is in keeping in touch with the candidate and making sure they join the company on time, right? And then they at least spend a week's time for that. So when it comes to the candidates, and many candidates, if they decide to lie, they will use all the big lies to the TA to ensure that they have gotten a competitive, and they don't have any ethics, right? So it's just their job, it's their life. So how effective is this function? How effective are TA able to engage with candidates? Could a transparent solution in form of tech be given to the candidate, and which can ensure that the candidate will join the company or at least give you clarity where if he decides not to? Have you worked on this problem?
Yeah, we have worked on this problem. It was a problem which was very painful around 2 years back, a lot of dropouts and backouts used to happen, uh, and nobody likes them, right? When the candidate on the day of joining declines and sends a
Yeah.
very laughable message that because of X by the reason they could not join. Nobody likes that. So I think there
Mm.
was a pain. It was a pain. Everybody wanted to solve the pain point. But I think this is so. I think we covered this in a few webinars, and I think my stand has always been that the joining ratio problem is not a joining problem. It's a hiring problem, right? We are seeing a dropout later, and we are thinking it's a problem that the candidate did not have experience or the candidate, is unprofessional. But what happens later in the funnel, actually, the seeds are sown much before what's happening in the hiring process. So
Yeah.
it's a hiring problem. And I think people, like always, right? We always want a dopamine or we always want something like drug to solve the problem immediately. But
Mm.
unfortunately, backouts and dropouts and joining ratio, you can't increase that if you don't really understand the entire process of
Saying
your
that it
hiring.
is
I mean,
it's a hiring problem because you hired the wrong candidate, or it's because of the overall fact that the entire job itself was positioned wrong in the wrong place, and etc. etc.
absolutely. So I think very easy to understand that in by taking an analogy. So let's say in sales, right? You have some customers, and 3 months later they're asking for refund, right? Now, or they are last minute when they're signing an agreement, they are saying no. Now, is this a problem of the salesperson closing the deal, or is this a problem of not identifying the right kind of ICPs, right kind of people to go after, right? If you don't know what kind of people to go after, if you don't have the product that fits the need of that customer, then the salesperson's brilliance can only get you ahead in the process. And maybe they will be also able to close the deal as well, make them join and make them on board. But 3 months later, they will not see value from the product because what they wanted was not what they got, right? So I think what happens is in our rush to solve the joining ratio problem, people employ a lot of gray collar tactics, right? They go and send some gifts to the candidates. They, call them too often to try to sugarcoat the entire thing, tell them great thing about the company. All those things are something that you're trying to artificially create. Uh,
Yeah.
you will never have this problem when a candidate is drawn to you because they have been seeing great things about your company, right? And I
Yeah.
think it happened in our case. I think it happens in all the good companies' cases where candidates have been tracking us for 2 years. And they say, as you said, you've been noticing few things about what we have been writing on the blog. You have been noticing what are we saying about our culture. And those things is where the right kind of candidate gets attracted. And then it's not just accidental, right? It's not like we did not know about it. We wanted to send
Mhm.
those smoke signals to the right kind of people. So we consciously decided, okay, this is our target segment. This is the kind of people we want. Now, do we want IITians? Do we not want IITians? Do we want this kind, that kind, fresher? That is your talent acquisition strategy. And then you try to build your entire operational effort to make sure that the kind of ICP you're going after, they notice you and they perceive you in the right way because these are the likely reasons that they're going to evaluate you on. So like a fresher is not going to evaluate you on much on salary. They're going to evaluate you on the peer uh, perception of your company because they're going to tell their friends that they got placed at this company. And what is the peer group going to look at? The company and maybe the package. And if the package is 12 lakhs and it's the 6 lakhs in hand and 6 lakhs is on the paper, it's still fine because they are going to boast about 12 lakhs as a CTC to their friends. So every segment, every candidate persona is looking for something. If a company is in agreement and in alignment with what the segment wants, and you are carefully planning entire journey so that you are sending the right signals at the right time, then the joining ratio will take care of itself. But doing everything else like a typical company, not sure about what you want, then you're trying to solve the problem of joining ratio by some crazy hack. I think that is something which is not going to work. So on, then you're trying to solve the problem of joining ratio by some crazy hack. I think that is something which is not going to work. So that is
And
what we
often
learned
when things
after spending.
when things don't go the client's way, have you noticed that the blame comes on the vendors for the tools they use?
I think that is unfortunate, but I think in our case,
No, honestly,
we have
sometimes
written.
see, I run an assessment platform, and I get sometimes blame. candidates are not able to qualify your assessments. So, and then I asked, if you want me to make the assessment easy, we can do, but I that's not something I request. I do. And then the complaint comes, why people are not able to qualify your assessments? So it's a I think it's a difficult problem. There are a lot of things that have to go right, and for this to work, sometimes it feels that if there is some company that's hiring and putting talent in their payroll and then just giving talent to us as and when they ask, right, the problem can be solved, right? But the entire recruitment is a different problem, different type of companies with different pocket sizes, right, and different employer brands, so it's very evident that we can't really give the same experience to every single company. So it is a very, very fragmented industry as such, right? So I think we are broadly clear with the functions that a TA does, right? So um, from how usually I know that many TAs learn a lot of this Boolean operations, and then they're all tech savvy folks, right? So and they have the appetite. Good ones, they have the appetite to learn a lot about new technologies, right? So I've seen great TAs, who know in and about every single technology, right? Sometimes even more than the person who's doing it, they'll know, and they'll be able to engage with that very great, right? So broadly, how fond are they with adapting technologies, right? So and do they like automation? What are the types of automation that they have tried and it has worked?
Yeah, I think technology adoption by in the recruitment industry has been, let's say, it has come in two or three phases. As I said, right, first was when people started posting jobs online and they needed one way to manage the candidates who applied, right? That's basic application management. I think second wave was a bit more advanced in terms of using more screening tools, assessment tools, because they started actually facing the problem of evaluating candidates up the funnel. And then I think Xobin was one of the, is in that space. And then ATS became more advanced in the sense that not just application who are relevant, and they started matching people more. And then they started candidate experience and candidate engagement also being one important part of the ATS job description. I think third is what is being, which is a wave right now, and we'll talk more about that. That what is today's wave of technology and how does it different from the other waves. Coming to a question about adoption in by recruiters, I think they generally, as you said, there are few who are, but very few who are actually more early adopters. Most of them are, most of them are forced to use technology by their managers. But then eventually they, as I said, right, they are being forced to execute for on a very, very short timeline. And typically they don't really have the time to learn a product. So I think learning a new product and the flexibility loss that typically happens is a friction that they always face. And this is the reason why they always end up going to an Excel sheet, or they end up going to a familiar platform like Naukri or something, because it's something which they've been using, right? So there's no learning cost, and then there is no flexibility loss. And typically, any cool, glamorous technology tool, it sees all the initial signs of success, but then soon the adoption and the usage wanders off
Okay,
because people have the problem.
is it because there has actually not been a good HR tech tool, or is it because, like what you say, they are actually under the pressure to recruit someone in 2 weeks and they really don't have time to adopt to these tools?
Yeah, I think both in some ways, but there are very few products that have seen massive adoption by by the actual frontline TA and recruitment staff. So I think both are equally the reasons. But I think uh, in terms of the product and especially in talent acquisition, most of the times what you need and where you are actually spending more time as a recruiter is sourcing. You're actually not spending a lot of time in candidate experience and candidate engagement because you are always short on the profiles. And that's where you always spend more time in sourcing. And when you look at sourcing, none of the sourcing tools that have come have been self-sufficient or have been adequate for the to satisfy the need of the company, right? So they have to go to three different platforms. So as you said, LinkedIn for something X, Naukri for something else, CutShort for something else. There've always been four or five fragmented products. And why should I spend time to learn more about the product when the product is not able to give me the complete set of profiles? for this role. So I have to, if I have to learn four, it becomes difficult for them to learn and adopt all the four tools. So then they have solved the problem by allocating some people to one tool. So CutShort, let's say two people are working on CutShort, three people are working on
Okay.
Naukri, two people are working on something else, right? That's how
Got
they
it.
have been able to address this problem. But by and large, I think the problem of adoption has remained in the industry, and overall the ROI question as well, right? Uh, Recruitment is traditionally known as a support function or as a cost center, not as a revenue
Mhm.
center. Uh, if even if you look at sales, I think nobody wants to adopt CRMs in sales as well. But sales is a revenue function critical for companies to maintain the hygiene there. So it's a no-brainer, and companies actually hire people to just update CRM. And the best sales people just go and do sales. And there are support people who actually just update the records for sales team as well. That also happens, right? They pair people with experience with people who are new, and they kind of update the CRM as well, right? So I think even in sales, the problem exists, but then because sales is a revenue function too important, it is driven by the top management to make sure CRM should be updated and should be used for all the things. I think that kind of thing doesn't happen in recruitment, because somehow people are thinking this is a cost center, this is a support center. Why should we invest so much in technology here? And what is the ROI? And how do you prove the ROI of recruitment? Because
Yeah.
if you're able to hire, like say, two companies, both are able to hire on time. One company is saying, I want to deliver better candidate experience, and hence I want this tool. How do you justify that candidate experience was actually a required thing? Why it was, if we did not have this tool, what would have been the business impact of that? In sales, it's very easy. We would have lost three more deals, and we would have lost $500,000 of of revenue. But and that's what happens, right? I mean, in sales, it is easy to justify the impact of bad decisions. In recruitment, your bad decisions are going to hurt you 6 months, 9 months, 10 months later, when a candidate does not perform, or when the people don't join 3 months later, right? That's where it will get impacted. And there are so many reasons why the candidate does not join. How do you isolate that the reason was the candidate experience was not good enough? We got late and responded to the candidate for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we did not respond. In the meantime, candidate got him off, right? How do you even find that reason? You can't trace it back, and then you can't justify it, and hence you need a better candidate experience. So the whole accountability and trackability of what is causing you, or what is the gain that you're getting from the product, and tying it to the ROI, that is always loose, and hence it is built by conviction. So best TA leaders built by fundamental principles that this is something we need to do. We can't do without it. We need automation here. We need automation there. So you can't always put a great ROI calculation right up front, but it's as you said, CEO's job or the top management's job to understand the criticality of this function. So the best companies, they make this investment because they know that by their heart, and they know in their fundamentals that this is something which is critical for them to have it. Companies who are waiting for ROI or the TA leaders to build an ROI case, they lag, right, and they don't adopt. And then you'll be surprised that even in Lightning, uh, 60-70% companies we work with don't have an ATS. And that is even today, right? Companies don't invest in ATS. They're always changing ATS. You always talk to them and say, yeah, we have one ATS, but we are shifted to something else, right? So always something else which is coming up and never gets adopted, because the whole mindset of, you know, ROI, the mindset of why it is required, and mindset of using it properly, it never happens. And then you always shift.
Is it because the company thinks that they are spending the money they're supposed to get the talent, right? So sales is a function where they are getting revenue, but this is a cost center, and so ideally, when I am going to be the person I should get, right? So they really do not want to invest more than their team on other processes, which best practices like a CRM or an evaluation tool or a sourcing tool in order to do it. Yeah,
Yeah, and
that's
that's why I was saying that companies who do it are the companies who depend too much on talent. So if you are heavily dependent on talent like Google, Microsoft,
yeah,
Amazon,
yeah.
or you are very, very talent dependent like Infosys, consulting companies, then they would do all the right things. But companies who are SMBs and mid-size, who are doing, let's say, a simple product, for them, they want to hire 15, 20 people in a year, and those
Mm,
hiring
mm.
cycles are going to come and go. And they don't spend here because they think, it's not a continuous need. And when they need it, they'll just dig the well and they'll do it, and they don't invest in technology. And those are the companies suffer the most with all the joining ratio problems, with the candidate experience problems, because they never really dug their heels deep and tried to solve the problem.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Interesting points, Nikunj. I think I'm sure some CEOs listening to this, which probably they are a small company trying to go big. So probably they should look at a couple of tools, so alongside which would empower their team to recruit great talent.
I think if they are listening, right, I think every company, at least, or every CEO says this, that people are core to our function, core people is what we are, and without people, we can't operate. And you know that because as a CEO, you know that people that you hire, and there's always a difference between the average hire and the great hire, right? It's a 10x difference. It's been documented, it's been proven. And if you look, despite knowing this fact, I think people underinvest in people function and they underinvest in talent in general. They think they want to pay less, right? They don't want to hire the right recruiters because they want to save their money on recruiter cost. They want to save money on, as you said, on how do you hire? Like even Zobin, right? You can help people hire better people, but then that the cost thing comes into equation that okay, this is justified. Is it's really justified because if you're going to hire 25 people in a year and you are going to spend so much on their salaries, and that is only what you are spending on salaries. If you're spending, let's say, 10 lakhs in salaries, you're expecting an ROI of 50 lakhs at least. That's why you're spending 10 lakhs in a salary. That's how your business is supposed to work. So you have an exposure of crores on your talent, but your budgets and your attention here is in thousands. And here we are, and that's where the HR techs problem exists, that the whole ROI and whole thing is everything is cost and less about the ROI. In sales, if you buy HubSpot, if you buy Intercom, if you buy any sales, revenue tool, it's always about the outcomes. And people understand because everybody wants business right now. But CEO, as you said, they're listening. If you think talent is the thing that will separate you, because talent is the only differentiated thing you have to do anything in the product, to do anything today, you need talent. And if you are not able to really, think how you are going to be different from other companies, then in attracting talent and retaining talent, and then I think it's very difficult for you to significantly create a differentiation strategy for your company.
Yeah.
So this is where you should spend. This is not an area where you should, think on, try to be very, very cost conscious.
Maybe we know why only the successful companies usually invest in HR tech tools, so if you, like you mentioned, so even they can have a relatively smaller employee size like an OpenAI, but they still would spend money in order to hire the right talent because they know how important it is.
Definitely. It's not successful companies invest in talent. Companies who invest in talent become successful.
Absolutely. I was
Right.
saying,
So that mindset, like I think in your case also, in our case also, talent was the first precursor which enabled success. If you don't know what kind of people want to hire, you don't know what kind of people will be successful at a company and why they should stay and why should join you. If you don't have that focus, then you can never invest in technology. You can never invest in anything. I think that thought starts first, and then the investment in technology and everything else will come in. But anyway, you can continue your thought.
So I was saying that they understand the cost of a wrong hire, so they know what it is to miss just that good person, and it's your money that you're going to invest, right? And when you invest it on a wrong person, you're losing out on a lot of opportunities, right? And it is opportunity cost as well. It's that equation, right? So, and which is why
It's
it
massive.
becomes,
It's a massive cost of all your team members. So a wrong hire is not just salary gone wrong. It is salary plus investment, direct investment. It's a cultural cost because a wrong hire also brings down the motivations of other people as well. A one wrong hire would have also might have resulted also in exodus of some good people as well, right? So it's a huge under the radar kind of a cost.
Yeah. Nikunj, when it comes to AI, how do you think AI is affecting? See, the title of this webinar was "Will AI replace TA experts?" Right? So that's something both of us agreed on. But I don't think there is an exact answer to this yet because AI is at a very nascent stage now, and it's going to grow at least 10x more powerful than what it is right now. And we don't know how effective it is immediately, but maybe you're using AI to solve a lot of sourcing problems. So could you throw some light on how AI is helping or replacing some of TA functions?
So I think, as I said earlier, I was saying that technology evolution has happened in phases, and we are now in the third phase, which is a phase of AI. Uh, and why AI is very unique. I think a lot of people say every now and then some technologies comes and creates a lot of hype. Ultimately, it's just hallucinating bot, which is just creating more and more,
Yeah.
language and more keyword generation or more text generation based on the prompt. But I think we need to
Mm,
see the larger picture. What AI is doing is actually for TA specifically, and we covered that in a recent webinar as well. But there are four things that are changing because of AI for TAs. One is, unlike any other thing that came before, we only change one of these four things. AI is the only one which is changing all four for the TA leaders or TA people, right? The first one is who you hire. There is a massive skill set definition and redefinition which is happening right now in the industry.
mm,
Support, as we know it, is changing. Uh, Software coding itself, software development also is changing the way we used to hire, right? Infosys used to hire a lot of entry level people and they used to train them. And a lot of people used to hire interns and they used to, graduate them the next year. But now the question is, do you need interns? Do you need entry level people in all these functions, right? So that is fundamentally a new question, and that's something changing. So while the skills are changing, the configuration of teams also is changing in all these teams. So who you hire or who have you been hiring is going to change or likely to change as well. A lot of people, as I said, recruiters, they have built competencies around specific kind of hiring. So some people are only campus level experts. Some people
mm,
are diversity hires. Some people are only
mm,
support level, or they only hire for two or three skill sets. All those skill sets, if they're changing today and they're going to change, then the fundamentals of who you hiring is changing, and you'll have to rewire or restructure, understand the whole game change. And now you'll have to look for a different kind of people, right? That will require a change. That who you, how you hire will change because now you might use different tools and different techniques to do it. For example, in software development, uh, people could now use ChatGPT to answer your assignments. Now, is that okay or is that not okay? Answer depends on your company. Some people are okay with them using AI to answer your questions. Some people are not okay. So I think how you hire requires a different kind of assessment game change there. And then going back to your hiring manager and understanding, okay, now the AI has come in this role, like in marketing, and we think social media can be done by AI. We think content generation can be done by AI. So now what all things we need the talent to do, and now how will we assess and how will we find these people? Because now the older keyword game will not work. Now you have to look for something else, which is a higher level skill, right? That's something which is changing as well. So who you hire, how you hire is changing. With whom you hire is changing because now your own tier teams will get restructured in a way that now earlier you had campus hire and this had that hire. Now you will have reorg in terms of what kind of who will do what kind of work in your TA function. Then partners like CutShort, Xobin will come up with something else. So something that might be doing internally might be done can be done externally and vice versa and all of that. So who you will be working with and the kind of team level, the kind of team structure you have might change as well. And fourth is the expectations from the business from TA are going to change as well. Because as AI gets adopted by top management in marketing, in sales, in operations, they're going to come back and ask the TA teams where our time is going, where is the ROI, where are we using AI, why we are hiring 15 recruiters this year just to do 5 level 10 people hiring. Why you're doing
yep.
that? Why we can't automate that? Why can't we use something more smart to do it? So I think the questions are going to change from the TA leaders. And because of this, I think the AI wave is quite different from, let's say, mobile wave or internet wave, because those waves were just changing business. They're not changing all these four, but they're the first wave which is changing everything. Every business today is restructuring, rethinking about how will the business change for them. Then every business is thinking about what kind of people to hire, how will we hire them,
Mm,
the
mm,
expectations and the team, right? So everything is right now getting rewired and redefined. That's why I think AI is a disruptive change. And coming to your question about how can we how can TAs think about this adapting to this changes? Is that something which you're going to ask
yeah.
as which
Yeah.
you asked as well?
Yeah. Or
Right. So
let
I
me
think
just put it in another way. Let me just put the question
okay.
another way, given this context, right? It's true that AI has come and a lot of jobs have changed, but I am a TA. I feel that I am not going to be using AI for recruitment. I am not going to use fancy tools. The only tool I'm going to empower my team is an Excel sheet, right? LinkedIn, Naukri, some sourcing platform. That's it. So I am not going to go into the new trends at all. For a TA like me, what am I to lose? What am I missing out? Can you answer it in this way?
I think fundamentally any stand like that where you just take one stance without understanding and applying things to your context, I think is a losing stance, right? Whether you say I'm all for AI or I'm not for AI, and these are two extreme polarizing stands that you're talking about. I think every person, every team, every company has to look at their context and see how much it makes sense for them to do it. Because if there is a law or there's a force of nature which is happening, you can't really run away from it for far too long. So let's take the example of why what AI can do for talent acquisition, and how do you actually zoom out? Because a lot of times we are thinking, as you said, right? No, no, I don't like AI. I like AI. It's not about what you like and what you don't like. It's about what is the true force of that power and the technology, and what is your true strength and true force, and how does the balance or the combination apply in your case, right? Now, I said earlier, uh, talent acquisition is not about calling five people today and checking their interest in your job. That's not talent acquisition, right? Talent acquisition starts from talent planning, from what kind of people you want to hire, understanding the roadmap of your business, uh, going to you talking to your hiring manager and business, trying to understand what kind of people have worked for them before. So there's a massive amount of work which happens before you even go out in the market, right? That's where, and that is something which AI is not even touching, because no AI is going to talk to your CEO, your hiring manager.
Yeah.
No AI is going to talk to look at the data about why people have left your company, and why are they sticking in the company. No, that's not even where we are today, right? So if you look at it, that's the first part before even the work starts of talent acquisition. Then let's say talent acquisition work starts in top of the funnel, where you try to reach out to people, source, screen, uh, basic fitment checking, and then you do the assessments and interview, where it starts coming more inside a company, right? So there is outside the company part and there is inside the company part. So it starts with inside the company, which is talent acquisition strategy. Then it goes outside the company, where you do outsourcing and you sourcing of the profiles and search and from the pools, and then you do screening. And as you start doing assessment interviews, you again start coming inside the company, because now everything is happening inside the company, nothing is happening outside the company, and it's very contextual to every company, every job. So assessments are happening, interviews are happening. Then while this is happening, candidate is making up their mind, and you, as you said earlier, rapport building, right? It's not something which you do later. It's something which you are doing as you are progressing in the process. So now there is, and it's not just candidate experience, right? Candidate experience is a very neutral word to me. It looks like as someone who's walking into a restaurant, you're trying to give an experience to them. It's not about that. It's it's much more than that, because it's a perception that they're forming about a company, and how well do you understand their motivations, and how well you're able to bridge the gap, and how well you're able to create an honest conversation around whether this is a fit or not. Because if it's not fit, it's not a fit. If you just try to funnel them through your entire thing, it's not going to work out. As what I say, if you detect, let's say after assessment, that a candidate is truly leaning towards MNCs or startups, and you're going to lose, then you should lose right there. You should not try to force the entire way through it. A lot of companies don't do it, right? So how can you be honest about that discovery with what a candidate wants? That also is inside the company. And again, a very human skill, emotional intelligence, intuition, relationship building, all those skills are going to come in. Then you understand, analyze numbers, and then you go back and complete the feedback loop and bring back the talent acquisition strategy. You revisit that. Now, if you look at all these things that the talent acquisition does, where is AI being implemented today? It's tiny 10% of the work, right? And that work is what is basically sourcing, where you go out and search, because it's a data game. You're saying, hey, I want someone who is machine learning engineer, who has done some research, who has worked on computer vision, and I want them to in Bangalore. That's a search. There's nothing
Yeah.
human uh, there's no human skill there. It's a basic database and basic demand supply matching search. And you go and do a search, and then you want to verify the profile, whether they have done this or not, and where the screening and all of that stuff comes in. And then you start doing assessment, and that's again it comes inside a company, and then now candidate experience has started with a much more bigger force, right? So only that part is where today AI is being used. Unfortunately, it is perceived as that's the only part that talent acquisition people were doing.
So
The work
simply
was
put,
actually
so to simply put, the Boolean searches that they were running on LinkedIn or in any other platform, they were spending too much time on it. So that part can be done eventually. Eventually, it can be two times better than what they do by AI. Is it something
not
that you can?
eventually. It's be done today. There is no eventual. This is happening because now Boolean searches are very, very primitive way of searching because we do not have technology. But now you can search based on the context. You can say I want to hire people machine learning with computer vision, and you don't have to write any keywords. It will figure out the keywords on its own. It will write. It will just figure out the whole context by its own. So it's not happening. It's not eventually. It's happening today. But what I'm saying is 70% of the recruiters' effort was happening in this part, which was data intensive game, and all these other parts, which is talent acquisition management, the overall talent management planning, what kind of people we should hire, candidate experience, trust building, relationship building, understanding the motivations. All that part was being done sideways, and this 75% of the time was going here, and that's why I think the whole conversation is hijacked as if this part is going to take away their jobs. Right? This part is going to disrupt their lives. This is not. In fact, this is an opportunity. And before we go to the opportunity, today, what is the status quo? Even when it is being done manually, what are the problems we are facing as a talent acquisition function? We have long tats not able to close. We have spent 70% of time in all this uh, calling calling people from databases, right, and checking their
Mhm,
interest.
mhm.
Uh, then the profiles we are sending, hiring manager is rejecting. Hiring manager not happy with the profiles, or they're passing the screening, but they're failing in the assessment, right? So all this is being done, but where we are, joining ratio is a problem. Candidates are backing out last minute. We don't understand the candidates that well. We don't know what kind of people are clicking for the company. You'll be surprised that when we ask people, okay, why should people join company? There's no answer. There is no thinking. Why should people join? Because you are now running in a very competitive market. If you don't know why people should join your company, why, and the answer is you go and ask people who are in your current company right now and they're not leaving. You ask them and you try
Mm.
to do the basic thing and then you try to propagate a message. That is being done because people have not even reached that point. So because 75% time is going in this 10% of the work in the entire talent acquisition gamut, we are not able to do other work, and we are at a place today where everything about the talent acquisition process is suboptimal. And if you look at talent acquisition professionals themselves, they're underpaid. The salaries of talent acquisition people are not increasing. And this is a favorite, and this is something which is a regrettable thing for us to see that, a 8 year experience in talent acquisition, as you said, who understands the market, who understand the candidate motivation, is getting paid one fifth of what a 2 year, 3 year developer is getting today out in the market.
Yeah,
Why that?
true.
Why that separation is there? Why there's such a stark difference between the salaries of all other professions versus talent acquisition? Because talent acquisition is stuck in a 75% of the work which can be done, which is not perceived as high value work. So we are
Mm.
stuck there and we are not progressing. The salaries are low. And the moment you cross 6 year, 8 year experience, you can replace by a 2 year, 2 year, 3 year experience guy. There is no significant
Mm.
delta over for your for your experience, because the experience only adds more uh, better level understanding of your domain. But if you're just
Mm.
calling people all day and all day out, then you're not using your experience. You're just a calling machine. You're just someone who's screening people, who just doing Boolean search, as you said, and reaching out to people and trying to see if they fit and they match the keywords. So I think net effect of all this is that the status quo is we are not effective as a process. We are struggling. And as professionals, also, we are not progressing because we are stuck in the career. So now, if you zoom out and say, there is so much of interesting and important work in talent acquisition. If I could get time for that other stuff, which is much more important and much more uh, central to my human judgment, emotional intelligence, all of that, which is truly what separates me from machines, and this is truly where my value increases and my contribution increases. If I can get some time from this work and I can devote time there, not only I will be able to do my job better, but I'll also be able to create more value for the company. And if that is happens, then you're going to progress in the career as well. But I think the moment you take a stand here that I will use AI or I'll not use AI, you're not looking at the entire picture. Now, for some companies or for some functions, the AI involvement can be very low. For some companies, for some function can be very high, right? So you have to see where you can apply it. But then whether you use AI or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is, are you able to create significant value for the business? And or are you replaceable by a 2-year experienced person in your field? If a 2-year person can replace a 10-year person, right? Objectively, you can always say, no, they can't replace me. But on the ground, by the things that you're doing, are you able to create a kind of value difference? Is what the question is. And if you think AI can help you, I think you should use it. And as you said, I think it's going to change, it's going to evolve. Even today, when CutShort is using it, for example, we're not saying AI, we're not going full in a full uh, throttle saying AI will change the game and we need humans. We're not saying that. AI plus humans is what we are blending today, right? So human part comes into the equation early. AI part comes into the equation to help the human. Again, the human comes into the loop to the final level of review and customer understanding, right? So it's blend. And where is your blend? How you want to blend these things together to create the business value is where the question is. So I think either ways is not the right approach. Balancing and find a right balance where you can deliver results and you can also grow in a career is where I think talent acquisition teams are.
Right. So I think how I usually answer people with whether they should use AI or not is whether you use AI or not, the candidates are already starting to use. See, 75% of the resume nowadays are generated via ChatGPT. That's a pressing problem. Right? You can say that you will only use Excel sheets and this thing, right? But if you are not upping your tech stack, then the candidates will take advantage, which will affect your overall output. So it's a tough world. We'll have to get adjusted to the reality. And I think you beautifully summarized it as to you have touched upon various areas in which the TAs can focus also. But Nikunj, for the benefit of the TA people who are watching this video, can you quickly, crisply tell the top 2 or 3 areas which TAs should focus to upskill them so that they can get probably a higher pay, which you touched, or they can probably get a different job, or what are the areas in which they should focus on? 2 or 3 things. So you covered a lot of these things, but which are the two to three things that they should press on?
As I said, I think the first and most important thing is a mindset that what that how are you going to use AI? You're going to use it based on the context, and the mindset is that I want to automate, I want to get better and faster with technology, and I'm not going to use it just for the sake of it. I'm not going to be averse of it just because I have some insecurities around it, right? So mindset of using AI for the right purpose is the first thing that you should start with. That why I'm using it, why should I use it, and the macro picture we have all seen is going to happen. If you're going to use it, your peers are going to use it, and they're going to be able to, if they're going to be able to deliver better value to the business and better
They get the better candidates,
yeah, if they're able to deliver better results, they will grow and they will be able to differentiate and grow to the next level in terms of really coming, really coming to the, really fulfilling the promise of why you are in this business. You're not in this business to uh, just call people. You're in this business to understand what drives candidates, what the business wants, and that is the true value of your role. Your role is talent partnership, or business partnership. Your role is not just low level data operator kind of a person, right? So the more higher value you can pack, the more successful you will get. And that's the mindset that I think people should begin with, and not with the with either or polarized view or overly aggressive or overly conservative view. It's the second thing about using what you can do to use AI is, I think there is no silver bullet or where to start. I think you have ChatGPT, you have other tools. You can just try to uh, play with it, try to get more work done out of it whenever you have, uh, a, whenever you think something might be interesting, right? So don't always go to ChatGPT expecting it to help you when you really need it right now. Go there to explore more often. Like any interesting thing that comes to your mind. For example, what might make a candidate drop out later, even if they have said three good things about my company or something. Right? So just try to see what ChatGPT is able to come up with, and always try to use it to get some interesting viewpoints and some angles that you have not thought about, because there are always some or two or three angles it is able to bring. So I think going with that exploration phase is important. Going with the expectation that it will deliver me the results right now is something where you try to really push it too much and you try to have wrong expectations. So go there just for the sake of exploring it.
Probably the one thing that I would say is, like I said, it is a function of the CEO. So I think you rightly said that they'll have to think as a business partner, right? And they'll have to also factor into the fact that if they don't use certain things or if they don't use certain factors, either the candidates are going to take the advantage or their own internal competitors are going to get better value. So whatever it is to close, they have to have a closing mindset and get things done faster, which should definitely increase their value. And I think in the initial part, you beautifully said as to the different relationships that they have to build with people, understanding the management, understanding the company, understanding the values, understanding the emotions of the people around. I think that is where a core value is. And to super ambitious people, um, the 1 crore plus hiring, I don't think it can be automated, because if the top leaders, CTOs, CEOs, building them, they are going to be fed up with automated messages and stuff like that. So to them, big value is there in that area. Um, I think even in a near future, I don't think a CEO of a big Fortune 100 company is going to be hired through an AI. There'll always be, it's a too much a risk for anyone invested in the company to just let that happen. So I think higher value job roles may require a lot of human, more human and lesser AI is just what my feeling is.
There also, see, I kind of disagree a bit there. I think that is because we are again seeing it very narrowly. When we're saying hired through AI, we're thinking somebody will apply, then we'll evaluate, we'll do an interview. Of course, that apply in huge numbers. They're not going to go through your AI screening, all of that, right? It's true. But outbound, right? We talked about earlier that kind of people you want to hire, you want them to know about something, and you want them to know about a company subtly, right? How do you do that? And you can't, you're not hiring for this month. You're going to be building your pipeline for next 6 months, 9 months, and all of that, right? So there different kind of AI is used for different kind of results. The result is not to make them apply right away. The result is not to assess them. The result is to attract their attention. The result is to find
True.
who the right people are,
True.
find their email addresses, create a social connection, and there also AI can be creatively used, right? And we are using, for example, in some of the sales process these days, where hyper personalized messages and all that we are using, right? So that's something which can even a recruiter can use
Yeah.
to a great effect, right? So, so I think it's just that AI. Again, I think this is again a similar
The applications are
line of
different,
thought.
so the applications are different. It could not be like for a mass hiring, but you use it differently. And maybe a human's judgment can be used, and like maybe he was doing this in this company, but yeah, I have intuition that he can do the same in this for this company. Like for example, I think John Scully, the Pepsi CEO, was hired as Apple CEO, the guy who fired Steve Jobs. So that is a good hire. So AI really cannot identify a Pepsi company CEO to be a tech company's CEO. So human intuition and judgments uh, will be required there, and maybe AI can help. Maybe they can train AI in a way to help them more to be more creative in a way. But yeah, so definitely, this is a mix of human and this thing. But like you said, the uses of AI is going to change, and the core purpose of this TA is they'll have to figure out how to use this powerful arsenal to make them better so that they can stay on top of the competition in all industries. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
think,
a lot of times people like judge very early that, let's say you run some AI to generate a cold email or something, and then based on some inaccurate response, they judge that AI is not good enough, or this is such a hasi kar leta, what's the point of doing this? So I think we are prematurely giving up, we prematurely trying to call it
yeah,
out
yeah,
that it's not going to
exactly.
work. I think not giving up and understanding that it's not uh, super accurate all the time. It's in the nature of it to help you. It is not something which can always deliver the goods to you right away. So, not giving up early, not writing it off, and trying to always see what else we can do, and whatever value you can get, see that value. That okay, at least I was able to do, not 30, not 80%. I was able to get at least 50% done, which is still a win, right?
One
If
bad,
you're talking.
yeah, based on one bad experience, they shouldn't really stop trying it, because these models are getting very, very powerful every 3, 4 months, right?
We used to show, right? When we used to show 2, 3 years ago, we had built a quality gated algorithm, which was a model that could predict the quality of the resume.
Mm.
And you could just look at the resume and say, okay, I will show me the top quality resumes. Top quality meant anything that they're interesting in their career. So they've gone and done some paper presentations. They've won some competitions. All of those signals were picked up by the algorithm. And people were like any tendency of any person is to first poke the holes, right? So look at those top and say, this is not good, that is not good, right? But five other are good. But then the two who are not good is what kind of convince them not to use the feature at all, right? So that is the mentality of where you say, okay, it's not working 20% times. So I'll not use 80% times also, right? And that is what we need to understand, that it is going to get better, as you said. And it's
Yep.
80% also is a significant lift from where we are today. So if you can get that, that is freeing up your time. Not hiring for a role, your 80% time is going in funnel building, searching, calling people, all of that. Now on CutShort, today, right, are humans that are helping companies. They're spending none of the time there. All they're spending is they've already seen the AI review. All they're doing is from the AI review, who are the most prominent ones. Then they are going and reading it further and then trying to create some more mapping that, okay, this is person worked here, that, and the intuition and the EQ that you talked about, right? It's trying to make some connection dots. That's where the value becomes even higher because time is not going there, your time is going here, and now you can have the luxury of talking to every candidate. Earlier, if you remember, every process was built for scale, every hiring process, right? So you would never talk to a candidate because it's very costly for you to talk to every candidate who is coming in the
Yeah.
funnel. And you had no way to figure out who are the top ones. Then you can't call everybody, and hence you call nobody. Now at least you're able to call 15 people, 10 people who are highly relevant. And by that single call before you start the process, you are able to make them interested in the company and they feel connected with the company. That is the value add that you are able to get right away, right? So that without automation, it was not even possible, right? So I think that, so what does 80% work, even if it's 80% is able to give you, is it is able to free the time that you can invest in those functions where your value increases and your job ratio increases, your understanding of the market improves because now you're talking to everybody and you're asking why did you apply and what were you doing before, so your understanding improves and all of that becomes a force multiplier in terms of your
Yeah,
output.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Lovely points, Nikunj. Nikunj, at an outset, I'd like to thank you for making it to the session. And I'm sure the people who are watching it, the CEOs, the PAs, and all the people definitely learn a thing or two. And any doubts, they can always get in touch with you or me. And, because we are also investing our time significantly in making the process easier for the people who are going to use our site, so that they can comfortably focus on the things that they are good at, and the rest we can take it up. So, thank you so much, everyone, for staying tuned and listening to this conversation. I'm looking forward to connecting with you guys in another Xobin Talk session.